Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. It is March 17th, 2025 at exactly 10:01 in the morning. And it's so good to see you all this beautiful Monday morning for our Monday touch point. Let me turn around and I have to grab something very important. And that would be the coffee, the most important thing. It is so good to see you all this beautiful Monday morning, you all. Lots going on, lots to go over. Now, this is spring break for most school districts. So I figured we would have a little bit of a light crowd, but I'm actually surprised on how many people joined us right here, even though it is spring break here in the Austin area. Traffic was absolutely delightful. It's amazing. I wish it was spring break every single week. Traffic was just incredible. Y'all, lots to go over. I sent out a text message to each and every one of you, some startling information regarding inventory that is important for us to understand and analyze. So I'm really excited to go over all of that. The new listing to pending ratio does not lie. And that is why we update this every single week. And I actually update it every single morning so you can always see what the latest and greatest is. Let's go ahead and start updating this information. First thing, as you know, we're going to go a little bit backwards in time, and we are going to update all of the previous pending going back a few weeks, just to make sure that all of the stragglers, all of the agents that do not update information in a timely manner, that we capture all of their activity. So we are going to increase this number from 400 or from 378 to 415, which is really good. And that's going to increase the ratio up to 0.56. Let's keep on going. We're going to go from the 24 to the 3rd, and that's going to be 510. That's going to take the ratio to 0.74. We're going to go from the 17th over to the 24th, and that's going to bring us to 525. Let's keep on going from the 10th to the 17th. That's going to be 465. From the 3rd all the way through the 10th, that's going to be 515. Wow, we have to keep on going. And from the 27th to the 3rd, 531. We're getting really close to not having to update this, and this is going to be 461. And then from the 13th to the 20th, 407. Wow, y'all, look at that. Isn't that crazy? Agents are so bad. Okay, now we are all done. We've updated everything going backwards in time. Really quick recap on this new listing to pending ratio. It is a very simple and yet very powerful ratio that shows us the difference between what's coming into the market as far as new listings or back in the market, divided by what's being absorbed by the market, active, under contract, or pending. We capture this on a weekly basis and also on a monthly basis. When the ratio is 1, that's going to give you that perfect market equilibrium. 1,000 listings come on the market, 1,000 listings get absorbed by the market. Of course, not the same listings. This is a ratio. When the ratio is over 1, you can take a look right here. December 23rd all the way through December 30th, the ratio was 1.32. That means that all of the new plus the back on the market divided by everything that went under contract 520, we had more properties go under contract in relation to what came on the market. That was a negative 125, meaning we had 125 less homes come on the market in relation to homes that went under contract, which means inventory would go down because demand exceeded what was coming into the market. So that's when the ratio is over 1. When the ratio is under 1, the inverse happens. You can see that the following week we had a ratio of 0.81. So we had 154 more properties stay on the market, come on the market, as opposed to it being absorbed by the market. A good analogy to look at this ratio is if this were like a calorie count. If you consume 2,000 calories and you burn 2,500 calories, well, you're going to borrow from stored calories and therefore the weight will go down. Well, if you consume 2,500 calories and you burn 2,000 calories, then you have a calorie surplus and you are going to store energy. That's exactly the same thing. I love this ratio. And the ratio never lies. Because when we started seeing this ratio at 0.65, 0.68, a little bit of an increase right there, but then trending down, when the ratio is between a 0.65 and a 0.75, the word that I like to use is a tangible increase in inventory. When the ratio starts backtracking under 0.65, once you get to the 0.55 to the 0.65, the word that I like to use is substantial. We notice a substantial increase in inventory from 0.55 to 0.65. If or when the ratio ever goes south of 0.5, it basically means the market's crashed. That's what it means. Let's just call it like it is. There's no demand in relation to the amount of inventory coming in the market. We can see that we've had 2 weeks where I would classify it as a substantial increase in inventory and the rest as a tangible increase in inventory. That's where inventory really starts piling up. So that's the really brief recap on this ratio. This helps us. Number one, we need to know the market. We've got to understand the market. We've got to position our clients in a way where they understand the market. On the buying side, how does this help you? More options. On the listing side, how does this help you? More competition. So we've got to be aware of this. Let's start updating this week from the 10th all the way through the 17th. Keep in mind that new price increase, price decrease back on the market, active under contract, will lock today at 11:59. So when you look at this information, first thing tomorrow morning, you're going to get an email from me with a recap. All of these fields will be locked except for the pending. The pending we will update for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks because agents are really bad when it comes to updating information, especially builders. But the rest will be locked. So tomorrow morning's information, we will know exactly how many new listings and whatnot. Let us start updating all of this. We're going to take a look at the number of new listings on the market. And from March 10th all the way through March 17th, and keep in mind, this is for the 6-county area, Travis, Williamson, Bastrop, Hayes, Caldwell, along with Burnett counties. We are looking at 1,329. 1,329 new listings entering the market. Are we going to beat last week at 1,489? No, we're not. Number one, I think people held back a little bit because of spring break. So we do see a little bit of a decrease right before spring break. That is normal. I do foresee an increase in listings the following week, but this is normal. We are going to cross the 1,400. We're not going to cross the 1,489. Let's take a look at price increase. We are at 224 price increase. That is surprising. A little bit on the heavy side of things. I would attribute 90% of that to builders. Let's take a look at price decrease, 1,571. That's going to bring us back to 88%. We hit 90%. When it's all said and done, we're going to get back up to the 89% or so, but it's not going to beat last week. Back on the market. What's going on with back on the market? We are at 164 back on the market, 12%. That is a low number, and that is going to be the lowest back on the market number going all the way back to, all the way back to forever. 12% back on the market is going to be, gosh, is there even a lower number? There is no lower number. That's the lowest number. That is the lowest back on the market that we have ever recorded. That is amazing. Wow, that's just incredible. Now, why is back in the market so important? Why do we track back in the market? We've got some new team price agents. The team is growing. People are joining the team, which is super exciting. Why do we track back in the market? Why is this figure important? Is anyone willing to unmute themselves to let the entire team know why do we track back on the market? Why is this important? Why is this a relevant fact that we have been tracking for many, many, many years? Anyone willing to unmute themselves and tell us why, tell the team why back on the market, tracking back on the market is so important. If someone does not volunteer, you will be voluntold. So someone better volunteer or else you're going to get voluntold. Why do we track back on the market? Why is that so important?
Dan,
Miss Charmine, go for it.
this is my guess. I think we track it for many reasons, but it kind of tells us if there's a lot of opportunity for backup offers. It tells us if buyers are doing their due diligence or making a decision with like more security, so taking their time. Um, what else? Yeah, I mean, it's just the market's a bit more slower, maybe, that there's less back on the market.
Very good points. Absolutely excellent points. Every single one of those, fantastic. Yes, it does give us an indication of what's the likelihood of a backup contract becoming primary. That's a really good ratio to use to see, is it worth submitting backup offers? I'm a huge fan of backup offers, but this is a really good indication. Right now we're looking at 12%. It's a very powerful market indicator because it shows us the level of negotiation that the seller is willing to entertain post contract. Most properties fall off because of, inspection, option period negotiation, you've got financing, you've got all of that. And when the back of the market plummets, that means that the sellers don't want the property back on the market. They're willing to negotiate with the buyers. The buyers are going to have way more leverage. When we've had record high activity, this is going all the way back 2023, 2022. Take a look at back in 2021, 1.83, and look at the back on the market, 41% back on the market. Well, why is that? Well, buyers were impulsive. Buyers felt like they overpaid. They're like, I didn't even get a chance to look at other properties. I'm just going to go ahead and terminate. Maybe they submitted 2 or 3 contracts. They got 2 accepted, and now they terminate 1. The hotter the market, the higher the back on the market, which is counterintuitive. But when you look at the reason why people terminate, of course, it makes sense. And it's especially to do with buyers feeling like they made impulsive decisions, as opposed to the market that we have right now, where if a buyer were to tell you right now, I have a price range, I want to look at, Cedar Park, Round Rock. My budget is $500,000 to $650,000. I want a 4+ bedroom. How many houses can you show them? 20, 30 homes all day long. Whereas you go back to 2021, 22, how many houses could you show that buyer? Maybe 1 or 2. So right now, buyers have a lot of options. Sellers are willing to negotiate. Prices are going down. And then once you go under contract and that buyer says, I want an extra $15,000 lower, the seller knows it took me 30 days to get a contract. I don't want this back in the market. I don't want to have to disclose the inspection report. Let's go ahead and negotiate with this buyer. So we do see that it plummets. The cooler the market, the lower the ratio of back on the market. And here we have a situation where this is the lowest ratio that we've ever seen at 12%. Let's take a look at active under contract. And we are looking at 505 active under contract. And now this is where you get to guess. I need 5 guesses on how many pendings we have experienced here in our market going all the way from March 10th all the way through March 17th. Let's get 5 guesses going. You can put that over chat. Last week or 2 weeks ago, last week we updated the information. It came in at 415, but please keep in mind that that's the number that we just updated today. So it tends to be on the lower side of things. Charmaine is going to start us off with 250, followed by Seth at 213. Daniel's going to come in at 300. Sergio is going to come in at 250. And we've got one more person that needs to guess how many pendings have we experienced. One more person, 5 guesses, and I will click. Okay, we've got Harold closing us off at 225. And let's take a look at this. Oh, wow. I am super encouraged. I am very encouraged. This is great. I'll take this all day long. 281. 281. Whew. Now, we are still at a 0.53 ratio, a little bit on the slower end of things, but we are going to have, when we revisit this number next week, it's going to be higher than the 0.56. But keep in mind, this puts us right in the middle of that substantial increase in inventory. I mean, to put things in perspective, if I just go back 4 weeks, we're looking at 2,035 on the plus side of things. Really interesting. Now, let's take a look at the year-over-year comparison. And you can see that we are already 147 listings on the plus side on the year-over-year comparison. Actually, this is for the previous week, so let's take a look at this week. Let me just copy the formula really quick so that you can actually see. And we're 191. And let me adjust this really quick. You're like looking at how the sausage is made with my spreadsheet. We are already 191 listings higher this week compared to last year. Remember I told you that spring break listings tend to go down, but we are already 191 listings higher. When you go all the way to the beginning of the year, as a percentage, we are up. We're up quite a bit. As a number, we're up 736. As a percentage, our average increase is up 6.9%. Now, take a look at the pending side of things. As a number, we are down 1,578. As a percentage, we are averaging 10% drop. So as a percentage, we're averaging 6.9% increase. And as a percentage, we're averaging 10% drop. So the gap is getting wider between properties that are coming on the market, properties that are leaving the market. So it's not like we're up 10% on new listings, but we're up 2%. That would be way better. It still would be lagging. We still have an increase in inventory, but right now we are up 6%, or let me go all the way down, 6.9% on the number of new listings. And then we are down, and I'm not even going to include the 34%, but we are down 10.9%. So we got a big gap. And you take a look at the ratio. Last week, when we updated the information from 2 weeks ago, 0.56 ratio versus 0.80. We're at a 0.53 right now versus 0.93 last year. Let us update the monthly. That's going to be month to date. First thing I'm going to do is take a look at last month and see if we have to update anything from last month, the month of February. On the pending side of things, this is going to go to 1685. Let's see if we have to update anything for the month of January. And that's going to be 1543. We don't have to update that. Let us start updating this month, the month of March. New listings, 2808. Price increase, 381. 381. Price decrease, 3074. 26%. You see that? There's that drop right there. When was the last time we had 26%? Let me keep on scrolling. So we had 14% February 2022. We had 14. Oh, no, that was percentage price drop. I'm looking at back on the market. Let's update back on the market right now. Back on the market, we're looking at 370. That's going to be 13%. When was the last time we had 13% back on the market? We do have a graph for this number, but I just want to take a look at it here really quick. 13%. I don't think we've ever hit 13%. This goes all the way back to That's just insane. That's just crazy. This is for the entire month. Keep that in mind. I mean, let me go all the way back to 2008. 2008, we had a 15%, 17, 15%. Y'all, we just hit a record. 13%. Oh, there's an 11%. Okay, we have to go all the way back to February of 2004 to get a back on the market that is lower than what we currently have right now for March. That's just crazy. 21 years. Wait, that's just about when I became a realtor back in 2004. We have to go all the way back 21 years. That is just astounding. Wow, that is amazing. Let's take a look at active under contract. We're looking at 1,044. And let's take a look at pending. Oh, wow, 700 pending. Oh, we're at 0.55 ratio, you all. That is just crazy. We're at 1215. Let's take a look at withdrawn. We're at 266. And let's take a look at expired. 157. So there you have the information. Let me go ahead and just move this off the screen so I can print this as a PDF and we can review some charts, some lines, some data. Really important for us to understand this and be able to articulate this to our clients. It's just going to take me about 2 seconds or so for me to save this information. There we have it. It's printing as a PDF. I will load this in 2 seconds. I cannot believe that we've got 35 people here. This is so encouraging. I am super encouraged. Let us take a look at some of this. Here's the weekly. We can see the weekly new listing to pending ratio currently at a 0.53. Let's start taking a look at the monthly. We've got the difference between new and pending, and so far we're at 1,434. That's the difference between new and pending, everything that's new in the market versus everything that's pending. Now, the reason why it's really important to track this is that we've already surpassed last year, same month last year, March, all of March of last year. When you take everything that was new on the market versus everything that went under contract, the difference was 1,344. So far, we're already at 1,434, but it's only March 17th, and we're adding about 500 listings a week. So this is going to be right around the 2,400 mark, which means it's going to beat the month of May of last year, which was a record high of 2,102, record high for last year. That's just amazing. Here's the difference right there, and we can see that we've been on the upward trend, but we have to go all the way back to 2011 to get a year that had a higher difference between the new and the pending. And of course, here is the new listing to pending ratio for the entire month. And we are well into the month. We're already March 17th. And I am just shocked to see a ratio of 0.55. That's really amazing. We have to go all the way back to 2003 to get a ratio that was lower than what we're currently experiencing for this month. My hope is that it'll bounce up a little bit, but realistically, you all, even if it does bounce up, we're looking at a 0.6 ratio when it's all said and done. We do have a lot of pendings that lag. Agents don't update the status. So this number tends to go up as we get closer to the end of the month and as we update the information next month. But ultimately, it puts us right there in the middle of that substantial increase in inventory, which is exactly what we are noticing. And we're going to go over inventory right now. And let's see if I can find the back in the market information here. I want to make sure that you can see the back. Okay, we got the active listings, active per population. Let me find back in the market, new listings, of course. Cumulative listings. I really want to take a look at back on the market. Okay, there we have it. Here's the back on the market. We had a minimum of 11%. That was February of 2004. We're at 13% right now. We have to go all the way back to 2002 to get a percentage that is smaller than that 13% back on the market. But this is really, really eye-opening. You can see that right there, 13.2%, 28.1% below average. Here's the cumulative pending. Everything that's gone pending, 8,301. Everything January, February into March at 8,301, down 29% on the cumulative pending. So let's take a look at the new listing to pending ratio for the entire year. And so far for the entire year, we're at a 0.67 ratio for the entire year, all of January, all of February, and so far for the month of March. We have to go all the way back to 2010 where we had a 0.63 ratio. So you can see that the difference is 4,027 so far. And that's the difference between everything that's new on the market, back on the market, minus everything that went under contract. We're on the plus side of 4,027. Think about that whole calorie deficit versus calorie surplus analogy that I used earlier. And you can see how this adds that substantial increase in inventory. Last year, the plus side was 11,183. So imagine right now, fast forward a year, and just imagine an extra, I mean, we're looking at 1,000 surplus on a monthly basis. We could very well reach 18, 19,000 listings by the end of the year if we keep up this pace. Really fascinating what's happening. Really fascinating. So that's your update on the new listing to pending ratio. Let's take a look at some inventory data, see what's going on. As of this morning, there are 13,364 active listings currently on the market. That is going to be a gain of 210 from Friday, 436 week over week, 1,462 month over month. We've got 12.28% more listings today than we had exactly a month ago. And that's going to be a 21.7% gain year over year. On the pending side of things, we're at 4,223 pending, and that's going to be a 10.9% drop year over year. That's going to give us an activity index of exactly 24%. Months of inventory shot up to 4.72%. Out of all of the listings, new construction accounts for 31.84% activity index. It accounts for 41.6% of all pendings. Resale accounts for 58.4% of all pendings. That's going to give us an activity index of 20.43%. Let's take a look at some of the charts. There is the data reflected as a graph. 21.7% increase on the number of active listings, currently at 13,364. Pending listings down 10.9%, and you can see the activity index going down. 2 years ago, the activity index peaked towards the middle end of April. Last year, the activity index peaked right around the third or fourth week of February. This year, same thing. Fourth week of February is when the activity index peaked. We're now seeing that increase in the number of new listings that are entering the market and the pullback in demand, pullback on the number of properties that are currently going under contract, which means that the lagging indicator, which is going to be months of inventory, you can see that. That's a pretty big jump right there. That's just about a straight line up. We've got 23.1% more inventory when you look at months of inventory compared to 2024, which is just amazing. When you look at the number of active listings going all the way back to April of 2022, we are 2,139 listings short of the record high that was reached Monday, July 15th, 2024. My prediction, today is March 17th. My prediction is that by May, we are going to blow that number. We're going to have a record high by May at the very latest. Give it 45 days or so, and we're going to have more active listings currently in the market compared to last year, which was July 15th. Now, out of everything that is currently on the market, 46.2% of those have had a price decrease, and you can see that information right there. Now, when you look at the activity index in months of inventory, what are you going to notice? You are going to notice this moving up in that direction. As months of inventory goes up, or as activity index gets cooler, months of inventory goes up. If we look at this chart 3 years ago, all of the dots were right here. And slowly over time, they've done what? They've gone up that way. Every time we get cold, we become a buyer's market. And you can see that this right here is going to be the average of all of the dots. And we are now absolutely within a buyer's market, within a cooler market. That's where things are heading. It's heading in that direction. When you look at the zip code side of things, very similar. Out of the 75 zip codes, this is right there on the neutral market. But you can see these dots heading up that way, and you can see more dots approaching that 11-month inventory marker. For all of these charts, I cap months of inventory at 11 months. Because or else the graphs just don't make any sense. It's all over the place. So all of these I cap at 11 months. When you go to our months of inventory resource on Insight and Statistics, I do not cap it at 11 months. It shows you the true inventory. So I want to encourage you to look at that true inventory, especially the price range inventory, because it is super eye-opening. Let me go ahead and just make this a little bit bigger so that you can see what I am referring to. This breaks down inventory across all of the different price ranges. When you click on the city, it then takes you to the inventory per range and then per square footage. Really powerful resource. I'm really excited. But you can see that, take a look at Marble Falls. I posted this on our internal Facebook group. Over $1 million in Marble Falls, you've got 75 months of inventory. Lago Vista, over $1 million, 69. Heck, between the $600,000 and $700,000 mark in Lago Vista, you've got 63 months of inventory. You've got, it's just amazing. And when you take a look at zip code, well, let me keep on looking at this because the next one is going to be zip code. And this gives you the history, by the way. So you've got the per price range, you've got the history, and then take a look at the per price range for zip code, and it's just incredible. You've got even 7734 Lakeway area, over $1 million, 30 months of inventory. And then some of them are super low. You take a look at 7736, between 5 and 600,000, only 0.67 months of inventory. Keep in mind, you all, real estate is always going to be hyper local. And use this resource to have that conversation with your client. You might have one client saying, I'm looking at the $500,000 to $600,000 mark in Lakeway, and you're like, cha-ching, we've got 100 properties to look for. You've got another client that says, I'm looking at the 78613 zip code or the 78739 zip code, and I'm looking for something under 600,000, and you're like, very competitive market. We've got very low inventory in that market. We've got less than 2 months of inventory in the 78613 within that price point. 78739, you've got less than 1.5 months of inventory. So although I like looking at the macro level, it's important for us to look at the macro level. It does point to the overall health of the market. We always have to remind ourselves that real estate will always be hyper local, and you've got to look at that specific price point, that square footage for that market, so that you can help your clients make the single best decision for their families, for themselves individually. So that's the resource right there. You can go to Insight Statistics, take a look at the months of inventory, and you can find all that. Now, I published the comparison from 2020 or 2025, January of 2025 versus March of 2025. I published this article comparing, y'all, this is unbelievable. Let me go ahead and just save this image and then open this up. Let me move this off to the side. I want you to really take a look at this because it is absolutely just jaw-dropping. Let me wait until this opens up. There we have it. Let me expand it a little bit. Keep in mind, you all, this is only 3 months. January 16th. I mean, look at this. Just let that sink in a little bit. January 16th, 2025, we had 17 cities that were in a seller's market, 8 in a neutral market, and 5 in a buyer's market. Fast forward 3 months, January, February, March, really 2 months. 2 months. Fast forward 60 some days, and the number of cities in a seller's market drops from 17 to 3. Neutral market drops or goes up from 8 to 14. Buyer's market goes up from 5 to 13. The new listing to pending ratio doesn't lie. Bottom line, that's why we track this, because the new listing to pending ratio is a leading market indicator. It tells us what's going to happen in the next 30, 60, 90 days. If a property doesn't go under contract as it doesn't sell, what I hate about months of inventory is that the industry always talks about months of inventory. Oh, months of inventory, buyer's market, seller's market. But that captures the number of active listings divided by what happened 3 months ago, which is a reflection of what happened 6 months ago. So if demand was really high 6, 5, 4 months ago, and those listings then sell 30 to 45 days later of when they went under contract. And then months of inventory captures the average of that 90-day period, which is a reflection of the previous 90-day period. You're 6 months behind. And that's why months of inventory either shoots up or it plummets. For the old timers at Team Price, do you remember back in 2020? When everyone's like, oh my gosh, the pandemic, real estate's going to crash. And then we were tracking the new listing to pending ratio. We're like, oh, no, it's not. Like the demand is sky high. We've got to pull back on the number of new listings because people don't want to put their homes on the market because they're obviously afraid of the disease. And then we're noticing pending. And what do we say? You can go take a look at the videos from 2020. There's a video of me with like flames behind. And what did I say? I said, it's going to be the hottest market you've ever seen, like in your lifetime, because the new listing to pending ratio absolutely started shooting up. The opposite is happening right now. The new listing to pending ratio is plummeting. People are looking at months of inventory saying, well, we're still in a really nice, stable, neutral market. But that's old data. That's the lagging indicator. What's happening right now is that the lagging indicator is now catching up with the leading indicator that we've been harping on since November, December, January, February. Now the lagging indicator is catching up with that. Let's take a look at some additional information right here, which is really, really interesting. I posted this not only on Facebook, I created a really cool little article on our website that you can review. And this is going to be the percentage increase in inventory from January to now. Austin, 75.7% increase. Bastrop, 38. Marble Falls, 117.9% increase. And Dale is exactly the same. Poor Dale. Dale was 11 months in January. It's 11 months right now. Just crazy. But some of these are just super eye-opening, just incredible. So take a look at this information, really, really helpful. But let's take a look at type of market. I've got a few other things that I want to update you all on, which is really exciting. We now have, these are all cross-linked, by the way. So when you click on median days on Austin, it takes you to that median and average days on the market resource. I'm really excited. And then when you click on months of inventory, it takes you to the months of inventory for the city or the zip code. So that's really exciting. We're doing some amazing job just updating the website, making sure this is all available for you. So you can see, what are the 3 cities that are still in a seller's market? We've got Cedar Park and Manor and Round Rock. Cedar Park, Manor, Round Rock, all still in a seller's market. We've got 14 in a neutral market, and we've got 13 in a buyer's market. I've got a question right here. Is this an indicator that people are leaving or not moving to the Austin area? The Austin area is experiencing an increase in population, although that increase is slowing down. We're not at the 3.2 mark. We're like at the 2.5 year-over-year percentage mark. Travis County, on the other hand, did experience a decrease in population. I wouldn't say that this is the primary reason why that's happening, although I'd say builders built thinking that the demand was always going to be there. It's just not affordable. That's really the bottom line. People have been stretched to their absolute limit, and we were in a bubble. The Austin market was a real estate bubble, and the bubble has burst. So we're now experiencing the pullback of that bubble that burst. That's really the bottom line. It's just a normal economic cycle, and we went up a lot. We were the #1 appreciating city during the disease, and right now we're the #1 depreciating city, and it's simply a matter of economics. We are returning back to our mean, whether you look at the price to rent ratio, whether you look at the household income to purchase ratio, everything is returning back to its mean. That's why we're experiencing this. When you look at zip codes, 33 out of the 75 zip codes in a seller's market, 18 in a neutral market, 24 in a buyer's market. And you can click on all this information. Now, let's take a look at the activity index. And here's another really cool thing. Same thing, months of inventory on the activity index. This now links to the months of inventory data. The active links to the active. The sold links to the sold. So we've done a really good job starting to cross-link all of these resources that we publish. But let's take a look at the history, and you can see that some areas are doing really, really well. You take a look at Elgin, activity index shot up to 30.9. Demand is there. Other areas are backtracking. I cannot stress enough the importance of looking at your specific local area. You take a look at Leander, plummeted. We just reached a 12-month low on activity index. You could look at Wimberley. You just reached a 12-month high on activity index. Everything is going to be hyper local, you all. When you take a look at zip code, let's take a look at the historical zip code activity index. You're going to notice the same thing. 78703, 12-month high activity index. 78705, 12-month low activity index. So use these resources. Take a look at this resource. Super important for you to know exactly what's happening at your micro market. But the overall macro market, we are now at 5.3 months of inventory for the entire area. We are now into the neutral market zone, going into a buyer's market. That is where we are. Last year, last year, we were at 4.2 months of inventory. Right now, we're at 5.3 months of inventory. And you can see the active listing count and how that is increasing year over year. You can just draw a straight line right there. That is always increasing. Let's take a look at pricing. But before I look at pricing, I'm going to take a look at rates and the bond market. Let's take a look at the bond market. We did have some economic news come out today. This is a very important week for the economic calendar. We had retail sales that just came out this morning, caused a lot of volatility within the bond market. But we've got the Fed is making their interest rate decision this week. They start their meeting tomorrow. I do not expect them to increase or decrease the Fed funds rate. That's the fixed rate, currently at 4.5. I don't expect them to go up or down. It's not going to affect rates, not that decision. But today we had right here. Oh, this is really interesting. The National Association of Home Builders Housing Market Index. 39. National Association of Home Builders Housing Market Index dropped down to 39. And that's going to be the same number back in August 2024. This has been going down. A big portion of this is going to be the buyer walkthrough traffic. When I go to their website, and it's going to be table number, let's see if I can find this. It's going to be table number 3. That's going to be the table that they publish the home buyer traffic. I just downloaded this. Let me move this to this screen so that you can see. And let me enable editing in Excel. And the data that I want you to focus on right here, this is really all I care about. I don't care about this top 2. I could care less. All I care about is the traffic of prospective buyers. I'm going to go ahead and just delete that and let me lock this top portion and then increase my screen. So I want to freeze panes. Perfect. So now when I scroll, it stays locked, and now I'm going to make it bigger. I want to make sure y'all can see this. This is all I care about, is this number right here. Because you know me, you all, I really could care less about lagging indicators. I don't care what happened 3 months ago. I care what's happening right now today. And it doesn't matter to me that the sentiment 3 months ago was super positive. I care about traffic of prospective buyers. Who is going to that property? Who's accessing the property? What does traffic look like in that new construction? And you can see that that number has gone down. This time last year, 34, 24 right now. Good news for us, 6% commission. Bottom line, you're going to see builders giving a crazy amount of incentives for buyers, for agents. That is why builders are sponsoring our meetings. That's why builders are like, I'll give you anything. I'll give you everything. I'll wash your car. Just please come to my listing. Visit us. 24 traffic of prospective buyers. That was just released this morning. I will be updating that information on the Team Price Insight and Statistics. When you click on MBA Purchase Index, the last few pages, it's going to be the traffic of prospective buyers. That's going to be pages 8 and 9. This will be updated tomorrow so that you can see this, but it's on the teamprice.com Insight and Statistics. Let's go back to the economic calendar and see what else is going on, what we can expect this week. So retail sales came out a little bit all over the place, really. You've got retail sales, excluding gas autos, that went up a little bit more than expected, but then general retail sales still on the positive side of things, but it was less than forecast. At 1300 hours, also known as 1 p.m., the Atlanta Fed GDP Now preliminary figure is going to be released. Interesting, they're expecting a negative number, and they use real-time data for that, but they are expecting a negative number. It's going to be interesting to see what actually comes out whenever GDP for this past quarter is released. Tomorrow, we've got housing starts, we've got building permits, really important day for real estate data. And then we go into Wednesday, and that is when the Fed is going to announce the interest rate decision. The FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, is going to make the announcement. They're not going to move it up or down. It's going to be at 4.5, so not much is going to happen when it comes to that. And then we've got Thursday, some additional information. Friday, we've got oil rig count. And then next week, so important week this week, next week, we get to update the home price index. That's when we get to see how does Austin fare compared to the entire country when it comes to pricing. We are going to update not only the national market index, but also the top 40 city index. That's also on Insight and Statistics. Consumer confidence, they are expecting a pullback on consumer confidence, but the big one is going to be GDP on Thursday. Are we entering the R word, the recession word? Are we going towards a recession? So really big week next week when it comes to data. We've got pending home sales. We'll also update that. That's from the National Association of Realtors. We have a tab on Insight and Statistics under macroeconomic data with pending home sales. And really Friday is going to be the big one, and that's going to be PCE, personal consumption expenditure. That's going to be inflationary data. That's going to be on Friday. So two very important weeks when you look at the economic cycle. The good news is that so far today, the bond market is down 4.8 basis points. So the bond market is reacting in a very positive manner. The yield in the bond market is reacting in a very positive manner, which means we have a higher demand for bonds. If demand for bonds go up, that means that the price goes up. If the price goes up, that means that the yield goes down. That has a correlation to mortgage-backed securities. And we are looking at 6.75. We have not crossed a repricing line on mortgage-backed securities quite yet, but we are down 4.8 basis points, but we're at 6.75 conventional 30-year, 15-year 6.375, and FHA 6 1/8, 6.125. If you have any questions about rates or anything like that, please reach out to Robert. Robert is absolutely amazing and fantastic. Reach out to him. Before I cover market cycle, I want to point out another really awesome update that we did on teamprice.com that I'm really, really excited about. So we've got all these resources related to, cities and zip codes and all that. So for example, when you go to Austin, you're going to see that we've got the active residential inventory, activity index, days on the market, months of inventory, price per foot. But right here, we've got the consolidated list. So when you click here, let me lower this a little bit so you can see, we've got the consolidated list. Now, let me do a little quiz right here. When was this updated? The report that gathers everything. And you can access that report by going there. You can also access this report by scrolling down under Market Update and then going to Data and Analysis Reports. This report is really good when you're going to a listing presentation, a buyer presentation. So my goal was to create a report that you can just print out one time and just take all of the data related to that zip code, to that city with you at a buyer presentation, listing presentation. How often was this updated? When was this updated? Do you remember? This was updated every Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's when it was updated. It's like, hey, we're updating everything daily, but we're only going to be able to update this consolidated report every Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We now launched the ability to update this report every single day. Every day. So whether it's the top 30 cities, top 75 zip codes, if you're going to a buyer presentation, a listing presentation in 78613, you just go to Data and Analysis. You click 78613 and you can see that. That was updated this morning. So really excited. I just want to make sure that you all have the latest and greatest that is updated now every single day. And this includes all of the information that you would ever need for that zip code, the active, the activity index, days on the market, months of inventory. So, really in all of the active, the price range, the square footage range, all of the sold, and all of the appreciation. So there's that one link that you can just gather everything that's now updated Monday through Friday. So really exciting to have this where you all can just get access to any of this information on a daily basis. So I worked on that this weekend and we were able to launch that. So I'm really excited for you all to have access to all this information. Y'all, let's take a look at sold price data, because when inventory is increasing at a substantial level and pendings are down, inventory, active listings are up almost 10%, pendings are down over 10%. What do you think happens with price? One would think that prices would go down. Oh, no, 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 no. Prices, of course, are going up. We've got the average sold price is up 7.4% month over month. The median sold price is up 6.4% month over month. There is one word that I've been using over the past few weeks to explain why in the world is this happening. Do you remember what that one word is? Your client's going to ask you this question. Violet, go for it.
Bifurcated?
Okay, bifurcated market. What the heck does that mean? What does that mean?
Some's hot and some is not.
Okay. So, but in relation to, if we've got an increase of 10% in the number of active listings, we've got a decrease of 20% on the number of pending listings, activity index is down, everything, every leading indicator is down, new listing to pending ratio, activity index is down, months of inventory is up, active listings are up, back on the market's down. So there's not one data that we can point to that says the market's not slowing down. And then you've got the price. Well, number one is this. The price is always going to be that lagging indicator. So we're looking at lead indicators. The price is going to be lagging. It really shows us the activity that happened 2 months ago. And you're absolutely right, Kevin. It's like some are up, some are not. Now, the reality that we're noticing, and I spent a considerable amount of time this weekend proving this, where I took every single price range out of every single thing that's sold over the past 30 days, compared it to not only the previous 30 days, but also a year ago. And I ran a calculation that said, as a percentage of the price point, right, the percentile analysis, the bottom 10% all the way to the top 10%, what's the deceleration comparison? Because everything is down for the most part. What we're noticing is the bottom 35th percentile, let's say the number of pending listings, the number of sold properties are down 10%. The under 35th percentile is down like 20%, whereas the upper 25th percentile is down by 5%. So even though the entire market is down, the upper price point is down a lot less. And in some areas, that's actually even up. In certain zip codes, the 90th percentile is up. Sales are like up 25%. And then the bottom 25th percentile, sales are down. So that's what's happening. It's let's just use the consumers go into a store. You've got a year ago, 100 consumers went to the store and they all bought the average price. And then this year, you've got 80 consumers go to the store. But out of the 80% of the 80 consumers that go to the store, the ones that are going for the more expensive, they're still going there. So you've got a higher average, even though the volume is down, even though the percentage of what's selling is down, the actual per cost dollar amount is up because of what the person is purchasing. That's happening in real estate. That's happening in Austin. We've got the data to prove that. But that's also happening across the entire country. I've got a warning for you. It was a conversation I was having with my wife last night. I've got a warning for you. Is this a forever trend? Is this sustainable forever or is this temporary? What do you think?
Temporary.
It's temporary. It is temporary. We have to resist the mindset of this means that things are going back to normal. I don't see the data supporting that because the demand part of the equation simply isn't there. And then we're seeing people now, especially you go into April and May, people are now going to start dropping their prices. So just keep that in mind. If the sales was evenly distributed across all different price points, it'd be a different story. But the fact that we are in a bifurcated market where the more expensive homes are still selling, the less expensive homes are not, as soon as we have just a little bit of a slowdown on that upper 90th percentile, it has a dramatic effect on the average and the median price. Like an overnight effect on the average, especially on the average price. So that's my warning. So we could very well see going into May, June, July, August, and September, a pretty significant pullback. The new listing to pending ratio in the activity index points to that. That's the deal. That's why we're obsessed with the leading market indicators. So it's my word of caution, my warning to us as a team that although these numbers can absolutely appear encouraging, like, wow, a 7.4% increase on the average price, look at the number of sales, down 17.4, previous month down 17.7. This is dramatic. Look at the new listing to pending ratio, look at the activity index, and then I also look at the average price of what is currently pending on the market, not only as a price per foot, but also the actual price. And you can go to Insight and Statistics, and you can go to the price per square foot, and you can see that the median price per foot is $218. The average is $257, a little bit higher than the sold, but what do we have to account for between the median and the sold? The sold to list price ratio. But look at the active, 243, 319. The average for the entire MLS, the average price per foot for everything that's active is $319,000. For what's pending, $257. For what's sold, $249. That's a big difference between the pending and the sold. That is a massive difference between the active and the pending. Take a look at Austin, $448. Average price per foot, $370 median. And look at what's pending, $372. Look at what's sold, $348. And $298 for the city of Austin on the median sold. That is a dramatic difference from $370. I mean, that's a 20% difference between the active and the sold on the median. That is amazing. So we are already noticing a little bit of a pullback within the 90th percentile. That pullback tends to accelerate as April, May approaches. So I don't foresee an environment where the average and the median sold price does not start pulling back here in the next 45 to 60 days. But all of this is recorded. I hope I am proven wrong. If I'm proven wrong, so be it. But that's my expectation, simply based on the data of what's going under contract. You all, it is 11:04 right now. Any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, or complaints?